Yiannis, you are Welsh, but your family is from Cyprus, is that right?
Yes, that's right. My father came over to London originally when he was 14 from Cyprus, but my mum on the other hand is Welsh, and he met my mum in Swansea.
Why did your father go from Cyprus to London?
Well, it's quite a delicate situation, really, quite complicated. But my father and his family are basically refugees from the north of Cyprus. They were Greek Cypriot, living in the northern part, and basically during the war they had to leave.
So can you tell us a little bit about the history of Cyprus, a little bit about the war, why it happened, and why your father's family had to move away from Cyprus?
Well, it's quite an interesting history, really. Cyprus has a very long history of being occupied, defending from invaders, but basically for about 80 years until 1954 Cyprus was a colony of Great Britain, and in 1954 a movement created by a man called Archbishop Makarios, a movement that was called AOKA, which was largely a Greek Cypriot movement, fought against the British for independence, which they finally achieved in 1954. Now, following independence, this movement, which was largely backed by Greece, wasn't really sure about what to do with itself, and it eventually turned into a reactionary movement against Greek Cypriot communists from the left, and also Turkish Cypriots living in Cyprus. Unfortunately, following independence, AOKA led a massacre of many Turkish Cypriots around Cyprus, and also many Greek Cypriots, political refugees. For example, my family.
So your family were refugees. They're Greek Cypriot, but they were refugees from other Greek Cypriots, not from Turkish Cypriots.
Well, to a degree, yes. However, probably the final straw when they left was that, they had enough fear of their own people from AOKA, the Greek Cypriot nationalists. But following the ethnic cleansing of many Turkish Cypriots on the island, the Turkish government was, I guess you could say, forced to invade northern Cyprus, and unfortunately many incidents of ethnic cleansing of Greek Cypriots in villages also happened. Eventually my family, living in the northern part of the island, had to leave to go to London.
So it sounds quite similar to the situation in the Balkans in the 1990s, where different ethnic groups fought each other after the previous state had collapsed, and the ethnic cleansing happened. So, I mean, what do you think is the future now for Cyprus? Because Cyprus is still a divided island. There are two governments, two states in Cyprus.
Two separate states, that's right. The Turkish Cypriots in the north and the Greek Cypriots in the south. I think there are some reasons to be cheerful, to be optimistic about the future. Currently in Cyprus we have a president called Angelos Christofias, who's a leader of the Greek Cypriot Communist Party, who Angelos also happens to be a close personal friend of my family's, and he has a very liberal approach to kind of relations with the Turkish Cypriots. There's far more dialogue than there's ever been over the last 65 years, you know. I really think that unification between Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots is probably a long way into the future. But for example, border controls, people being able to travel from the south into the north and north into the south, they've been relaxed. For the first time, for example, 5 years ago I went with my father to see his old house in the northern part of Cyprus, which was a pretty incredible and quite emotional experience, as you could imagine.
Thank you very much, Yiannis. That was really interesting.